this is Bad Vibes. Today's video is on those crazy exes. Please hit that like button and subscribe so I can brag to my mom about all the clout points I got from this video. So sit back, relax, and enjoy. This story happened to me from late July 2012 till late 2014 with ongoing issues for my safety. On that note, I would like to remain anonymous for the safety of myself. This all began in late July of 2012. I came from a small town where everyone knows everyone. I had just turned 18, and as most 18-year-olds in my town, we would like to go drinking down at the beach and have a bonfire. I had a regular group of friends who I would hang out with, and we would go for drives over to the bigger cities and find things to do. I was on one of those drinking nights with a close friend of mine. We'll call him Adam. So Adam and I went for a drive from my parents' house in the rural area of the town and decided we wanted to go to a big city to watch a movie. After saying goodnight to my parents and hopping in Adam's car, we went to the movie theater and had a good time. After the movie had finished, we decided to go to McDonald's and get food. This is where I met the man that ruined my life. He served my friend while I stood beside him at the counter, busying myself on my phone, texting my friends and whatnot, while Adam placed our orders. The guy who was serving us gave me a smile, and I smiled back as I said to my friend that I was gonna go have a cigarette. He nodded, and I went outside. Moments later, he walked out with our food, and the guy who served us was walking behind him. He came and stood next to me and asked me for a lighter while introducing himself. We shall call him Chris. So Chris sparked up a conversation and gave me his number. He said he would like to take me out sometime for a movie or something. I agreed and made plans to see him the following weekend. After about a month of spending a lot of time with Chris and coming out to his parents' place, we agreed to make our relationship official. He would spend most weeknights at my parents' house. I lived in a granny flat on my parents' property, and he would drop me off at school in the morning to the disgust of my friends, who all had to catch the bus. One morning after Chris had stayed over and was driving me to school, I said to him that he should pull over next to the school bus, which was waiting for students to climb aboard. One of my friends was waiting next to the bus, so I stuck my head out the window and told her to climb in. This was mistake number one, introducing the two of them. A few weeks after my friend met Chris, we broke up, and it was a messy breakup. Shortly after the breakup, the scary shit began to happen. I would hear people walking around the gravel driveway at random hours at night. I would see Chris's car sitting down at the end of my parents' road, under the street light, before I would go to bed. The stalking progressed to where I could hear him standing outside my ranch slider, talking to someone, and trying to jiggle open the garage door and walk around on the gravel. Things began to really become scary for me when I would receive phone calls and texts from random numbers during class about how the person was watching me as I would walk to the bus every morning, and what my parents were doing throughout the day, and threats with things like how they were going to break into my house and rape me, and then hide my body somewhere deep in the forest where no one would ever find me. At this time, it was during the end of the year exams and preparing for university applications, and feeding all sorts of information to my friend, who we shall call Julia. She, unknown to me, had been spending more time with Chris since the first introduction when we gave her a lift to school. This was a fatal mistake on my behalf because she knew exactly where I was going to be, what my timetables were, and when I would be most likely alone, and an easy target for Chris to find me. They began to date, and the texts became more frequent from both of them. Even an attempt to harm me one night when I was staying late with people in my drama class, working on our final performance of the year, and would be alone in an easily accessible classroom till about 10 p.m. Some of my classmates noticed his car parked across the road from where our classroom was, and said that it looked like two figures were sitting in the car waiting for me to come out. I freaked out and rang my mom and informed her. She came to collect me and took me home while watching the road to make sure that they hadn't followed us. The shit really hit the fan when I became so scared that I had to go to the police about a message I received and the fact that there was someone coming onto our property trying to break in and harm me or my parents. Chris carried weapons in his car because he liked to hunt. I knew it was also for security purposes because he was in an underground world of drugs. Once I had lodged a formal complaint about Chris and informed the police about the weapons he had on his person and in his home, the police went around and had a look for anything, but they found nothing, which set him off even more. That evening, he sat down at the end of the road, as per usual, and waited for all the lights to go out. Then he came up along the front of the house and up the driveway. I was sleeping in my parents' living room, which was right beside the driveway, with big windows and a ranch slider all the way to my brother's room. I heard him walking alongside the house on the driveway towards my flat, thinking I was in there, and I heard the sound of a gun being cocked. I sat up for a moment, thinking what I should do. I commando crawled down the hallway to my parents' room and quietly said to my mom, "Mom, get up, there's someone outside." My dad bolted right up, grabbed his robe and his .22 rifle, and ran out the kitchen door, setting off the sensor lights, and bolted down the driveway chasing after something, running through the paddock. After that night, things calmed down for a month, till I was packing up to move 10 hours away to a new city. The night after I left, my mom rang to say someone had been in my house and had walked in with muddy boots on. And because there was rather large prints all throughout the house, as if someone was trying to scope out the place. Odd things would happen at my parents' place, like trees would be cut down in the middle of the night, or a car would drive super slow past with its lights all off at odd hours of the night. Things started happening to me down at my new apartment. Each morning when I would go out, there would be this car, always parked across the road with its windows tinted, watching me. I received voicemails of the violent nature from private numbers. This kept up until last year when it all stopped. No phone calls, no sightings of random cars, no odd things going on at my parents'. Every time I go home, I never tell anyone when I'm leaving and when I'll be back at my parents' for my own safety. I get flashbacks when I hear something like a car backfire or when I see a car similar to Chris's. I always keep my home address private and my phone number restricted for my own safety because he's always hunting for me and I don't want to put other people at risk. I always say to my mom, if I go missing, we know where to start looking. When I was about 8 years old, my sister, who was 18 at the time, brought home her new boyfriend. He was around 30 years old, which concerned my mom, but it wasn't abnormal for my sister to do this. At this point in her life, she was falling rapidly into deep depression. Drugs and one-night stands were very common at this time for her, so an actual boyfriend seemed better than my mom not knowing where she was every night. The boyfriend was nice to us, especially to me. He and my sister took me different places. He bought quite expensive gifts for me, and my 8-year-old self liked him very much, for this of course. This will be relevant later. I even went to his house for a sleepover, but of course my sister was there with me. I should tell you that I never got any creepy vibes from him. He never said anything weird or creepy as far as I can remember. Fast forward to the day that they broke up. It's quite a blur, so I don't remember all of it, but I do remember him showing up to our house and my sister refusing to let him in. My mom was at home, but it was still light outside, and luckily, we were very close with our neighbors. My other sister, she was around 13 or 14, kind of locked herself in her room, but every now and then she would walk up to my older sister and ask, "Has he left yet?" Now, I was a very curious kid, and I had no clue what was going on. I saw my older sister very distraught and very snappy towards me. Understandable considering I was constantly following her around and asking questions. I remember looking out my mom's window while my sister tried to push my head out of sight. This is also relevant. Her boyfriend yelled at her that he had came all this way. He lived about an hour away, and something about the police, though I can't remember what. He left shortly after. Years later, I thought of that evening and finally asked my mom about it. What she told me left me shocked. Apparently, my sister had found child pornography on his phone. It still gives me shivers thinking about how nice he was to me and why my sister was trying to keep me out of view that night. This isn't as scary as most stories here, but I thought I would share it and let you guys decide. But Sisters X, I really hope me and my family never sees you again. So I was with this guy from August to December in 2019, but I decided to break up with him for reasons that aren't important right now. At the time, he took it well and wished me luck. A few months pass and quarantine starts. He starts spamming me with calls and desperate texts. 29 calls, over 100 texts. I got sick of it, so I blocked him and thought that that would be the end of it. And it was, for about 4 months. Then, some of our mutual friends messaged me saying he's going crazy without me. I told them I wanted nothing to do with him, and they tried to guilt me into unblocking him. I refused. Once again, I thought it was over. Flash forward to a week and a half ago. I get a random package at my door. It contained a 12-page letter, a painting from one of my favorite animes, and an album I always wanted. It also had my favorite candy, a candle, a cute keychain, 2 printed pictures of me and him, and his custom jacket. I tell my mom, paranoid that he's stalking me, and she tells me if he comes by again, we're gonna call the police and get a restraining order. It calmed down slightly, but even almost 2 weeks later, I'm still freaked out. I've been burning the pictures slowly, and I plan on burning his jacket. It's the only way I can think to help me move on. This all started when my mom met her new boyfriend, who I'll call Ray. I was 14 the first time when he met me and my siblings. He looked at my mom and said, "Oh wow, didn't know you had a gang." So great first impression, right? He seemed like a normal guy at first, but after he moved in we soon realized he was a hothead. He would yell a lot and throw tantrums, but he would always sweet talk his way around my mom to make everything seem okay again. And this is probably why she didn't dump him sooner. My mom has always been a bit immature, so I think it made it easier for him. Ray found it difficult to get along with me and my siblings. He would complain about every little thing we did wrong, and he started to accuse us of trying to ruin his relationship because of this. I have 3 sisters, and me and my younger sister were the ones he had a problem with, since we were the youngest. He soon stopped us from seeing friends that he didn't like, and was way more strict on us than my older sister. I realized he was crazy when he picked me up from school one day, which he never did, and while driving home, he accused me and my sister of talking about him behind his back. I said, "What?" And he started going on about me not bothering to deny it because he had proof. When he got home, he showed us a recorder and played back me and my sister complaining about him in our bedroom. So I knew it was when we were in our bedroom. What the hell? Immediately, I asked him, "Why are you recording us in our bedroom?" We had a big argument, and I immediately rang my mother and told her, but I think she didn't want to get on his bad side because she didn't say anything about it to him, which still annoys me. I made him remove all the recorders from mine and my sister's room. When I was 16, I got a job at Chicken Tree, and he had a big problem with that as well. The reason for this was because my boyfriend at the time worked there, and he thought I was going there to mess around. So, his way of making sure I didn't was to come and record me, and he did that for about a month. I was pretty much done at this point and moved in with my dad, who had just moved back from New Zealand. My dad was pissed when I told him about this and wanted to call the police on him, but my mom begged him not to. They broke up soon after over something unrelated, so thankful I never saw him again.